Hello and welcome to Vermont Home Radiators. Today's video is going to be on how to install a hot water radiator manufactured by Vermont Home Radiators. With every radiator that you purchase, of course, comes an installation manual. The installation manual is very well illustrated with step-by-step instructions on how to install your Vermont Home Radiator. Now, before we get started with the project, we're going to need some tools, of course. One of them is going to be a tape measure. We're going to need a stud finder, find our studs in the wall. I'm going to need a 1/4-inch spade bit, and I'm going to use a 3/4 spade bit for my supply and return lines. The 1/4-inch spade bit is for marking the hole locations using the template, which is also the mounting bracket for the wall. Also have mounting hardware. I've got a couple, looks like 1 3/4-inch wood screws that use a Phillips tip. I also have the Phillips tip for the drill. Got my drill, and I've got a couple levels. I have like a smaller one and a longer one for, you'll see why in a few minutes, for actually finding the level in the center location for the window. And of course, going to need a pencil or pen or marker, whatever you want to use. So we start out with actually finding the center location of the window. Now, why am I putting this underneath the window? Well, you don't really have to. I prefer a window application because for one, under windows, you don't really have anything underneath it typically. Plus also the window, the glass has got cool air above it because of the glass area. And the cooler air at the floor level, as it gets heated through the heat exchanger, it comes across this cooler air because of the glass, and it creates a great chimney effect. It actually helps the hot air rise faster to the ceiling, so it gives you this nice airflow, like this turbulence of air in the room. Cooler air comes at the floor level, gets heated through the heat exchanger, hits this cooler air, hot air wants to get above it, so it rises faster, and it does this nice circulation of air. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center of my window. This window is going to be 29 inches long, so I'm going to go 14.5 inches, which is right about there. Now, I'm going to use my level, my 3-foot level. I'm going to mark the floor, the baseboard, the center of where my window is. So I'm going to put my level up here to my mark on the window, and move my bottom of my level where it's going to be lined up, so it's level with this here. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to mark my baseboard down here. Now, once that's marked, I'm going to use my wall bracket. Now, I mentioned before, this is also a template for drilling my supply and return lines for my heat exchanger. Now, as you can see, there's 2 holes on each end of this mounting bracket. And there's also some little stickers. There's a red sticker and a blue sticker. Now, what these are for, the red sticker, is when I take this bracket in this direction, the mounting slots for hanging the heat exchanger is facing me. The flush end is going to go against the wall. The red dot is for walls with a 1/2-inch baseboard. The blue dot is for walls without any baseboard. This just goes flush up against the wall. I've got a 1/2-inch baseboard on my wall. So what I'm going to do is you're going to also notice that there is 2 V-grooves on each side of this bracket. One has a hole and the other one does not. The one that doesn't is the one that goes against the wall. So the flush area and the arrow without the hole goes against the wall. So I'm going to find my mark on my baseboard for the center of my window and match up to the center of my bracket. At that point, this location, these are going to be my supply and return lines for my heat exchanger. Now, the 1/4-inch drill bit that I mentioned earlier is a spade bit, nice point on it, which works out really well. Those are 1/4-inch holes in the mounting bracket. All you're going to do is you're not going to drill all the way through the floor. You're just going to go through the hole enough just so the point of the spade bit marks the floor. Now, the reason for that is, instead of drilling all the way through, is if I drill all the way through, I got a 1/4-inch wide bit. When I go through with my larger spade bit for drilling my supply and return lines to accommodate my 1/2-inch or 3/4 pipe, whatever you decide you're going to use, if I drill all the way through, that gives me a little bit of room for error there. I got some play. And if you're off an 1/8 of an inch on each hole, well, that can make a very tight fit for your supply and return lines for your copper pipe, for your heat exchanger. So when you're drilling when you're marking the holes, don't drill all the way through with your 1/4-inch spade bit. Just mark the floor. That's all you want to do. So once the bracket's in place, up against the wall, you're just going to drill slightly, put a little mark in the floor, do that to both sides. Now, once those are marked, now this was already installed before, so the holes are already drilled in place. Then you're going to use your larger bit to finish drilling the hole for your supply and return lines. So it's that simple. The bracket is fantastic. No measuring. All you have to do is mark the center where your radiator is going to go, take this center mark here, arrow, match it with that line, mark the holes accordingly, refer to the manual, make sure you do the right ones, of course, and then finish drilling it with your 3/4 or whatever size bit you're going to use for your slide return lines. Now, once that is done, the next thing we have to do is we have to measure where we're going to mount this mounting bracket on the wall. Now, the mounting bracket has an arrow at the top as well. These are where the hangers are for the heat exchanger. There's a little hole that I saw, a 1/4-inch hole drilled up here as well. You're going to see what that purpose is in just a couple seconds. So what I'm going to do is I need to measure up 17 3/4 inches. Now, you can obviously take your tape measure from the floor up 17 3/4 inches as well. If you have several radiators to install, I recommend kind of a simple way of doing it. Just measure on your level 17 3/4, mark it. Mark which end of your level is this. I put a little X on this side, let me know this is the side that goes down. And I just set this on the floor, line it up with my lines here, my bottom line and my mark on my baseboard, my windowsill as well, and I mark my 17 3/4 there. Now, once that is marked, that's where this hole here comes in handy. The little screw goes right in there. So I'm going to put in my Phillips tip in my drill again. This makes it really easy, actually. So the 17 3/4 is actually the top line of our bracket. So you're going to match up your top of your bracket with a 17 3/4. Find your center mark here. Take that screw in that hole. And you're just going to screw that in there. Now, it doesn't have to hit a stud or anything. It's not for supporting it, really. It's just for holding it in place. So I can take my level, put my level on top of this bracket here, level it out. That looks really good there. Now, if you want, some people take a pencil, mark it lightly. Just in case I bump this, I put the level back on it. I can just put it back to where it's going to be. Now, really not that specific. This bracket's, it's nice to get as accurate as possible, but, it's not huge. So basically, we're good with that. Now, we have to find the studs in the wall. Now, since I've had this mounted before, I know roughly where the studs are. I'm going to come through here, and I've got a stud right here. I've already got a mark there from before, and I'm going to mark the stud on this side here as well, and I've got a mark here for that stud as well. So at this point, what's nice is this mounting bracket is made out of a poplar wood material. You can put a screw anywhere through this, essentially, mount it to a stud. So I know here's one of my studs. And I'm going to mount another screw on this side over here. All right, now typically, I'd probably put more than just one screw. I put 2 screws in here, 2 screws. Wherever there's a stud, put 2 screws. Now the heat exchangers, they're made out of copper. They're not that heavy. They're actually pretty light. They weigh less than 10 pounds. So not really that critical. But obviously you want to have the bracket attached to the walls as best as possible. So the next step is, once the mounting bracket's in place, we have to reattach the heat exchanger. Now the heat exchanger, I like to make, now these copper stubs don't come with it. These are actually manufactured. This is kind of an easy way of doing the installation. You're going to Teflon tape or use a threading compound. I like to use a Teflon tape. But when you order your heat exchangers, you also have a choice of either 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch male NPT fittings for this. So these are 1/2 inch. So basically what I'm doing, Teflon tape it, make my copper stubs, thread them on here. Now the manual has a great illustration on how to tighten this up. You don't want to just put one wrench on the stub and tighten it. These are made out of copper. Even though it's a Class M copper pipe and they're soldered really well, you don't want to take the chance of actually too much pressure and damaging one of the solders. So you want to put a wrench on the manifold portion, and then a wrench on the stub, and then snug it up nice and snug so it doesn't leak. Now you put a stub on each side of it, and you'll also notice the heat exchanger has a supply and a return label. So these are directional. So you want to make sure you orient this correctly for your plumbing application. The next step is I just take my studs, line it up with the holes in the floor, go to my bracket, slide it on the bracket, push it down into place. So make sure it's nice and snug, and that's it. That's about as simple as you can get for installing a heat exchanger. No crazy measurements, no special valves required. Really, really simple. It also comes, you've got your bleeder cap here at the top for bleeding air. Now you can also turn this so that you can actually loosen up this bleeder screw, have a cloth handy, catch the fluid that comes out of it, and snug it. Don't get crazy and tighten it too much, don't strip it. You just want to snug it up so it doesn't leak anymore. Once that's all done, then it's just a matter of putting the cabinet back in place. Cabinet comes up, just fits over the heat exchanger, wiggle it left to right, make sure it's on the bracket, give it a pull. That's not going to come off the wall. Fantastic. Now the feet are touching on the floor. That's it. A really, really super installation. I've installed lots of radiators, and this is the easiest radiator that I've ever had to install. When I designed this radiator, I was thinking a couple things. I wanted something that was aesthetically pleasing. I wanted something that was highly efficient, something that wasn't going to corrode, that wasn't made out of steel. And this is made out of, this has a copper heat exchanger. And I wanted it easy to install, something that anybody could install. The instructions are very, very well illustrated, step-by-step instructions. This is going to be the easiest radiator that you've ever installed. If you have any questions or suggestions with the radiator, the heat exchanger, the manual, by all means, contact me. You can call me or send me an email at vermonthomradiators@gmail.com, or go to our website, vermonthomradiators.com, and you can contact me through the website as well. If you have any questions, please contact me. Look forward to hearing from you. Hope you have a great day. Take care.